either virtually or in our nation's capital. Bienvenue à la réunion numéro 93 du Comité permanent.
Welcome to meeting number 93 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Accounts.
Format pursuant to the standing orders. Members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. I'd like to make a few comments for the benefit of the witness as well as members. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. For those participating by video conference, click on the microphone icon to activate your mic. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. Lorsque vous ne parlez pas,
when you're not speaking, whether you're in the room or on Zoom, your mic should be off or muted.
Although the room is equipped with a reliable audio system, feedback events can occur. These can be extremely harmful to interpreters and cause serious injuries. In order to prevent incidents and safeguard the hearing health of the interpreters, I invite participants to ensure that they speak into the microphone into which their headset is plugged in, and to avoid manipulating the earbuds by placing them on the table away from the microphone when they are not in use. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. Before we dig into the matter at hand, I also want to introduce you and welcome our new clerk, Hillary Smith. We had a meeting yesterday just to get committee work underway and prepared for the winter session. I'll give you a quick overview, and notices will be going out today and tomorrow with respect to committee work next week. Conformément à l'article 108.2 du règlement.
Pursuant to Standing Order 108.2, the committee is resuming its study on the ArriveCAN application.
Office of the Auditor General, Mr. Andrew Hayes, the Deputy Auditor General. Mr. Hayes, you have a brief opening remark, and we all look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Do you have a point of order, Ms. Khalid?
No, I was wondering, Mr. Johns' hand is up
All
online.
right, Mr. Johns, you have a point of order.
Yes, I do. Mr. Chair, I see this meeting has been called and deemed as an emergency meeting. And my understanding is that not only is your committee studying the ArriveCAN, but also 3 other committees, including Government Operations Committee, is studying ArriveCAN. We had 2 emergency meetings last week. Today, an emergency meeting is being called at the same time that 3 political parties are having their strategic caucus sessions right now. We're calling on this committee has asked for the Auditor General to appear to discuss the report on ArriveCAN. And this is ahead of the scheduled report being tabled to Parliament in mid-February, is my understanding. And for a couple of reasons, I don't think this is the right way to go. I think it's interrupting an investigation that's taking place right now by the Auditor General, something that actually the NDP called for. And I put forward a motion at our committee that the Auditor General, not just study ArriveCAN, but all government purchasing policies and practices, and seeing if they're being adhered to in terms of the Treasury Board policies that we have to adhere to in Parliament and government needs to apply. But this calling on the Deputy Auditor General ahead of what will be a tabled report, I believe, is interference in a study that's being applied, in an investigation that's happening right now. As well, I believe that an emergency meeting needs to be called when it's an emergency. I think that we all want to get to the bottom of the ArriveCAN scandal, but to have 4 committees studying it and demanding emergency meetings repeatedly. I want to talk about what an emergency looks like. I'm in Edmonton right now, where there's homeless people all over the streets, and I tabled a motion at a Government Operations Committee to look at government lands and how we would use those lands, Mr. Chair, to ensure that we have adequate housing for people. And we know that the Conservatives have talked about using 15% of government buildings and lands to build a housing for Canadians. We know the government has talked about using government lands as well. But my study was in particularly narrow focused on ensuring government lands are used for public purposes, for affordable housing, and ensure that government lands belong in public hands. That's an emergency. That's a reason to have 4 committees studying an issue when we've got homeless people skyrocketing out of control. I just want to make sure that Mr. Chair, that when we call an emergency meeting, that it needs to be done in a way that reflects an emergency. We've brought in all the staff in the House of Commons right now to do this meeting ahead of what the Auditor General is already going to be tabling. And I think that this is interference in a study that's taking place. And I don't believe that this meeting should be taking place for that reason. And secondly, I don't believe this is truly, I don't believe this justifies an emergency meeting of Parliament.
Thank you.
I wanted to put that on record.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. John. So, so your point of order is that you object to the meeting being called, which is not technically a point of order, but I wanted to give you time to speak. I will address your first point. In fact, this committee previously invited the Office of the Auditor General to appear on this exact subject while that investigation was underway. It was viewed as a routine meeting. That again was during a recess week, so there is certainly precedent. And in terms of interference, well, we have a witness here today from the Office of the Auditor General who is prepared to speak. So I don't quite follow the logic of this being interference. And I'll note that that previous meeting we had on October the 12th not only resulted in information being shared publicly, which was noteworthy. It also resulted in the auditor then taking steps to ensure the committee's concerns were addressed in the current report. So I've heard your point of order, which again I listened to more to allow you to get on the record, but the meeting is going to proceed. Well, so this, we're not in debate. Point of orders. If you have a point of order, say point of order. Otherwise, I do want to hear from Mr. Hayes. No other points of order?
A point of clarification, then, Mr. Chair. This meeting could have been called earlier in the week. I find it suspicious that the Conservatives decide to move a meeting, to have a meeting on a Friday when 3 other political parties are in the middle of their strategic planning sessions.
Well, Mr. Johns, it's okay. Mr. Johns, it's Thursday. There's all kinds of overlapping caucus meetings. The letter I received that was sent to the OAG from Mr. McCauley was just end of last week, and so I worked through that as quickly as I could. So anyway, your objection is noted. Mr. Hayes, I'm hearing no other points of order. You have the floor, please, for up to 5 minutes.
Monsieur le Président, merci.
Mr. Chair, thank you for inviting me to appear before the committee to answer members' questions about our upcoming report on ArriveCan. I would like to acknowledge that this hearing is taking place on the traditional, unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. As the committee is aware, the report will be tabled on February 12th.
Looking at whether the Canada Border Services Agency, Public Health Agency of Canada, and Public Services and Procurement Canada managed all aspects of ArriveCan, including procurement and expected deliverables, with due regard for economy, efficiency, and effectiveness. I am happy to answer the committee's questions where possible. However, as you know, since this report has not yet been tabled in Parliament, I am not in a position to discuss our findings. We look forward to appearing again before the committee when the report is tabled. Mr. Chair, this concludes my opening remarks. Thank you.
Point of order, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I have a point of order from Mr. Genuous, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just it was mentioned that the report will be tabled on February 12th. I'm not a regular member of this committee. I wonder if you could just provide us and anyone listening with an update on kind of what's going to happen on February 12th in terms of the tabling of the report, opportunities for members to see the report, embargoed version. Because I think I have been involved in the ArriveCan discussions at other committees, and I think there is a great deal of anticipation for that February 12th report.
Sure, I'll address that now. You're preempting my conclusion. So in mid-January, the Office of the Auditor General sent a letter to the Speaker of the House of Commons indicating the Auditor General will be tabling the ArriveCan audit on Monday, February 12th. This then triggers a series of activities, both for this committee as well as the OAG. That's a Monday, and the House opens at 11. And our committee does not normally meet on Monday, but we will be that day. So how the day is going to unroll, and members will receive a notice of this before the weekend, and all parliamentarians are actually going to receive this information because the lockup is open to all parliamentarians. From 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., the Office of the Auditor General will be hosting a lockup on Parliament Hill for members to come. There'll be staff members there from the OAG who will be in a position to answer questions surrounding the audit during those 2 hours. And that is open to all parliamentarians as well as staff. Documents are also available electronically under certain embargoed conditions. Next, and this is customary, at approximately 10 o'clock, the Auditor General, Karen Hogan, will come to a committee room and take questions from parliamentarians. This is not an official committee setting. This is something that I'm, as chair of public accounts, am asked to host. There is no speaking order. It is questions to the auditor from parliamentarians, and Ms. Hogan will endeavour to respond to their questions with respect to what's been contained in the audit. And then following that, our committee will meet at approximately 11:15 in the morning. Ms. Hogan will begin with opening comments on her audit, and then there'll be a meeting for approximately 1 hour. And after that, Ms. Hogan has to leave, and she will then address the National Press Gallery with her report on ArriveCAN. So that is how the day is going to unfold on February 12th. And to give you all an advance preview, I'm making arrangements now for the regular meeting on February 13th, working in conjunction with the OAG to bring the deputy auditor back, along with the 3 departments that are being investigated in this audit. So there's where we are.
The invitation to all parliamentarians was sent
Oh, pardon me. The invitation to all parliamentarians was sent yesterday, so it is either probably at your main account, and committee members might have it on their P9. So I see hands up, but I expect if you have a point of order, I would prefer if you say so.
Of order.
Yes.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Government Operations Committee has spent tens of millions of dollars in reproduction of documents that would take 4 people full-time to go over for a year, just to take a look at documents that are costing and actually the McKinsey study, the witch hunt, found
Mr. John,
nothing except for. Okay,
can I just want you to just identify your point of order? You will have a speaking round.
The point of order is this: is that there was an opportunity to send a memo out instead of doing this whole meeting. This whole charade has cost a pile of money. It's unnecessary. The witness can't speak. We all knew this going into this meeting because they have a report coming out. So I'm trying to figure out what games is going on here and why we're sitting here. I need an explanation, and I'm hoping you, Mr. Chair, can explain why you've called this meeting, knowing full well that the witness can't speak and there's a report forthcoming. Maybe you can explain to this committee why we're here.
Mr. Johns, the witness, is here to answer his questions to the best of his ability. And I'd like to hear from him. All right, Mr. Johns, thank you. Madame Sinclair-Degnier, avez-vous un point d'ordre?
Ms. Sinclair-Degnier, do you have a point of order? Sorry, I just had a question about what you just said with regard to the February 12th schedule. It's a quick question. What's the question? Will the meeting at 11:15 with the OAG be public? Yes. Thank you very much. Very well. Thank you.
Brock, you have the floor for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm putting notice to this committee that the last 90 seconds, I'll be yielding that time to my colleague, Mr. Genuis.
Do you want me to interrupt you on that?
If you could, please.
Okay, yeah.
Good morning, Mr. Hayes. Thank you for your attendance. The Auditor General on October the 12th, 23, on a recess week, appeared before this committee, and unfortunately her testimony was cut short when the Liberal NDP coalition brought a motion to adjourn the meeting after it was revealed that the government nor the CBSA informed her that the RCMP were investigating allegations of misconduct with the CBSA. She, in fact, only learned about it after reading a news article in the Globe and Mail. With that in mind, has the Prime Minister and his government been open and transparent by releasing all documentation as requested by your department?
We make our requests for information directly to the departments and agencies involved in our audits, and we have received the responses that we expected from those agencies and departments. We have not identified concerns regarding our access to information in this case.
I understand with respect to the CBSA, there is approximately 30,000 pages that have yet to be delivered to committees. It's in the translation process. Were you aware of that, and has that been factored into your report?
Our audit is relating specifically to ArriveCan. My understanding is that the study by other committees might be broader than just ArriveCan. In terms of I'm aware that the committees have requested information and that some of that is outstanding, but it's not for me to comment on the process for that.
Your office has a mandate that when you uncover some element of criminality, you are to refer that to the RCMP. Is that correct?
When we identify issues that could raise the potential of criminality, we do identify for the RCMP.
And did you uncover any issues with respect to criminality involving the ArriveCan?
So at this point, I think that would be a question that the Auditor General would be best positioned to answer on February 12th. I can tell you that, as you mentioned earlier, we became aware that the RCMP has been already informed of a matter by the Canada Border Services Agency. That obviously is a different scenario than the normal one for us, where we conduct an audit and decide at the end whether or not to bring the RCMP in. They're already aware of the allegations.
At the Government Operation Committee level, we have seen unprecedented levels of misinformation being shared by government officials.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes.
Why are we bringing in information from another committee?
It's
This
not a
is
point
the
of order.
Public Accounts Committee. Can we deal with the Public Accounts mandate
Ms. Shannon,
relevance?
that's hardly a point of order. Mr. Brock has the floor and is welcome to reference any information. In fact, the letter that Mr. McCauley, who's a member of this committee, sent to the OAG specifically references OAG or information from that committee. So I will allow Mr. Brock to continue with his
While
line
my
of
Liberal
questioning.
colleagues don't want to shed any sunlight with respect to these allegations, the Conservative Party certainly does. CBSA officials appeared at government operations, deliberately misled the committee. The biggest outstanding issue is who was responsible for and who chose GC Strategies, this two-person consulting company who performed no IT work, who received $11 million of taxpayer money towards the ArriveCan total expenditure, clearly receiving the taxpayer-funded lottery in the process for doing absolutely nothing. This is a hot potato. It's kryptonite to the government. It's kryptonite to government agencies. Were you able to determine, sir, with the documentation that you received, who was responsible, what department was responsible for choosing GC Strategies?
Again, the Auditor General will be best positioned to describe the findings of our audit on February 12th. The scope of the audit is about the ArriveCan app, though.
Yeah,
so.
thank you. Has the government or the CBSA informed you that two whistleblowers who came forth at committee last week or 2 weeks ago were actually suspended without pay, that being Cameron McDonald and Mr. Antonio Utano, who both worked for the CBSA. Were you informed by the government of that?
So I am aware of that. I cannot recall whether or not I first found out from the government or whether it was in watching the committee hearings. It was around the same time, but I am aware of that situation.
Thank you. Mr.
You
Chair.
got 30 seconds.
That's fine.
You're done?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Janice, you have just under 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Sir, thank you for being here. And I am very concerned about your ability to access information from public servants in conditions where those public servants have been subject to intimidation. With that in mind, I wanted to briefly move a motion, and the motion is that the committee report to the House its grave concern about apparent reprisals against witnesses following their testimony on the ArriveCan app. This is critically important for the integrity of
Point of
the
order,
kinds
Chair.
of investigations
Is this a
that
notice of
parliaments
motion,
can
or is
undertake.
it moving a motion?
May I respond to
Yes,
that,
you
Chair?
may.
I'm moving the motion. It's on the matter at hand. It's on the matter at hand, and I'm moving the motion. Yes, thank you. And I think the committee will hopefully be able to dispense with this quickly. To review the facts very quickly, Chair, we had testimony at the Government Operations Committee, explosive testimony from Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano about what happened in the context of the ArriveScam scandal. When that testimony occurred, it was surprising and shocking what they were able to reveal in response to questions that members asked. In particular, they identified that a number of other public servants either lied directly or were not honest and forthright with the committee. And they responded frankly and directly to questions that were asked in that regard. After their November 7th testimony, later that month, they received letters saying that they were subject to investigation. And while that investigation is still ongoing, these public servants have been suspended without pay. It's an incredibly unusual step that public servants would be suspended without pay in the middle of an investigation into their conduct when no findings have even been reached, and that they would be informed of that investigation immediately after they provide frank testimony to a parliamentary committee. Now, this speaks to the ability of public servants to be able to provide honest answers to important questions that are asked without fear of intimidation. And it speaks to the right of parliamentarians to actually get the information we need to get to the bottom of the ArriveScam scandal. Of course, many parliamentarians, parliamentary committees, the public has been seized with this scandal. It's true. $54 million were spent on the ArriveCan app. It was spent through a two-person company with no IT expertise. Nobody wants to own up to giving this company this contract, a company that again does no IT work, subcontracted all the work, and got a big payout in the process. Nobody in the public service wants to own up to giving them that contract. And now when we have two public servants who come give frank testimony, they are subject to disciplinary measures immediately after that testimony, before an investigation has even taken place. And this is gravely concerning, and I believe it is designed to send a message to public servants that they should shut up and not reveal the truth to committees. And that is not a message we want sent. So I hope that this committee would consider supporting this motion to report to the House its grave concern about apparent reprisals against witnesses following their testimony on the ArriveCan app. If members are serious about getting to the truth, if members are serious about really finding out what happened here, then we need to have a situation where the Auditor General gets all the documents that they require, and where public servants are free to speak without threats and intimidation. And I would hope that members would support this motion to say that if we are going to get to the bottom of this, we need public servants to be free to speak without threats, without reprisals, without punishment for coming to committees and answering the direct questions of parliamentarians. Thank you, Chair.
Speaking order in place. Hands went up quickly. Mr. McCauley, you have the floor, please.
Thanks, Chair, and my apologies for not being sorry there in person. I'm fighting a nasty flu bug. Sorry.
Mr. McCauley, I want to interrupt. Just so you know, the motion has been sent to all of your accounts as well. If you did not hear, Mr. Generous, but I think we all did. But back to you, Mr. McCauley. Just want to give notification. The motion's been sent to everyone's account. If folks have questions,
thanks very much.
But over to you.
I am in supportive of this. I am quite concerned about the issue around the retribution against the whistleblowers. Having been on the OGO committee for over 8 years, where we've been pushing whistleblower protection with no action from this government, I am extremely concerned, especially about some of the details about this case specifically. Here we had the president of CBSA telling us that she did not provide documentation to the CRA or PHAC that led to the suspension of Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano. It was apparently a mere phone call to these departments. You would think they would have provided a whole document package, an investigation. No, it was a mere phone call. And then immediately these gentlemen were stripped of their security status, and therefore, despite being both of them on medical leave, being basically constructively dismissed, being put on suspension without pay, without any investigation into it. It is a very clear sign of a government exacting its revenge on whistleblowers. We've seen this before with the CRA, where they have famously gone after whistleblowers. The case came out about 2 years ago, where it's actually gone to court, where we had whistleblowers who had brought forward issues of sexual assault, sexual harassment, abuse.
Point of order, Chair.
Fired.
Point of order.
This is
relevant to the motion
issue with this government.
And I'm hoping that Mr. McCauley will save his voice.
Yes.
Sounds pretty nasty, but yes, relevance.
All right, Mr. McCauley. Okay,
to the motion.
Mr. McCauley, I'll turn things back over to you. There was a call for relevance, but I know you'll get back on track.
I'm pretty sure the motion is about reporting to the House about the whistleblowers, and I'm talking about whistleblowers. So I'm perhaps.
Sorry, just to clarify, Chair.
With the flu, but I don't
Chair?
understand the relevance issue.
Just one second. Is this a point of order, Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
I want
just again, if you have a point of order, say point of order. I'll
Point of
recognize
order,
you.
Chair.
So, okay, perfect.
To clarify, the motion talks about witnesses. There's no mention of whistleblowers in this motion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cleed. You're coming off the speaking list as well. Mr. McCauley, back to you.
I think the Liberals are splitting hairs for a reason, and this clearly goes back to their disdain for anyone who would dare challenge their narrative, anyone who comes forward and points out the truth. And here we have two Liberal members trying
Another
to
point of order, Chair, on relevance to this motion.
Well,
relevance to this
I think,
motion, Chair.
Mr. McCauley, I'll turn things back over to you. Mr. McCauley, I think, is responding to the points of order, and I'm sure is wrapping things up to get back onto his point.
Yes. As I was trying to say before, the Liberals continue to try to interrupt any disagreement with their point of view, or perhaps any investigation in their continual ineptness or corruption. I think this is a very important motion that Mr. Jennis has put forward. I think this is something the House needs to hear from. We have very clear, exploding evidence that continues to come forward about this issue. There are people who have been suspended without pay. People's lives have been destroyed by this government, and I hope that we will move forward with this motion and address this issue. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Jennis, for putting it forward.
Thank you, Mr. McCauley. Mr. Johns, you have the floor.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to say this, that Mr. Jennis just brought a very similar motion to Government Operations Committee, which was defeated. So it seems that he's moving along from committee to committee to try to move this motion to the House when he knows full well that this can be included in the final report. He can raise these concerns in the final report. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano, who wasn't not very long ago, was testifying before Government Operations Committee, and I'm sure it sounds like he was at more than one committee, because the Conservatives have this at 4 committees, this study going, and like I said, could be focusing on things like housing and other things that are a real crisis in this country. I'm not saying that we don't want to get to the bottom of this. We have to get to the bottom of this. But the outsourcing issue that ArriveCan has is reflected in many different contracts, I'm sure. Started under the Conservatives, where outsourcing doubled under the big 6 consulting companies. It's gone up 400% under the Liberals, and it's out of control, but it started with cuts to the public service by the Conservatives. This was actually cemented by Michael Wernick, who testified at Government Operations Committee, saying that when the Conservatives gutted, senior public officials in 2012, that this caused huge problems when it comes to leadership, and now it's costing us in outsourcing to outside consultants to fill the void. The other thing is, we heard when the Conservatives were on the witch hunt around McKinsey, is that we couldn't get some information from redacted documents, and it started with government policy in the Privy Council office that was set by the Conservatives. You can't make this stuff up. Conservatives were upset because they couldn't get information. I support that document shouldn't be redacted before committee, but it started with their own policies. And this was affirmed at committee by the Privy Council office. So they know full well that they implemented policies that were going to make it difficult for future governments. Then they tried to use that as an excuse to not getting access to information. This started with the Conservatives. Now, I'm going to go to what's going on with Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano, because I saw these 2 witnesses testify before us at our committee. We tried to get some answers, and they were absolutely grilled by the Conservatives. They were attacked by the Conservatives when they testified. There is no way that anyone could watch the tape of those committees and believe that now the Conservatives have their best interests at heart. That is absolutely hard to believe, when it comes to what really took place there. Now, I want to talk about reprisals as well. And I want to talk about policies that we've seen and failures to address protecting people like Mr. McDonald or Mr. Utano or any public servant that wants to, that feels that they're under threat by government for coming forward. We know brave Canadians who report wrongdoing or crimes in their workplace often experience consequences like losing their income, health, and happiness, all for speaking the truth. All Canadian workers should feel free to safe reporting workplace crimes and negligence. Absolutely, we support that as New Democrats. And Canada has the worst whistleblowing laws, tied with Lebanon, and the Liberals and the Conservatives teamed up to make sure this doesn't change under Bill C-290, under a number of amendments. Now, we heard from David Hutton, who spoke in the Hill Times. He said that when the Conservatives reform whistleblowing laws under the Harper government, and actually that was Pierre Poilievre was the minister in charge at the time, the leader of the official opposition, that they actually made things worse. So here we are with whistleblower laws tied with Lebanon in worst whistleblower laws in the world. Libs and the cons teamed up to defeat numerous amendments that would have strengthened protections for whistleblowers. They voted against many amendments to Bill C-290 that we put forward and the Bloc put forward. And it's not surprising for the Liberals, their rich friends aren't worried about whistleblowing, so they're not. And Pierre Poilievre, like I said, and the Conservatives, well, they always prop up big bosses, not workers. Ask workers about that. Ask unions about that. Canada needs stronger whistleblowing protections so that there's more transparency and accountability of government and the public service to protect all workers. New Democrats, we're committed to protecting the rights and safety of all workers. And that's why we're pushing to make sure Canada has the strongest whistleblowing protections possible. And the whistleblowing laws are important because of how weak our protections for whistleblowers are. Less wrongdoing will be reported and stopped. Protecting whistleblowers is necessary to protect Canadian lives and security. And whistleblowing reports protect Global's Canada's reputation and relationships. We saw Luc Sabourin. He came and testified at Government Operations Committee. He reported that superiors at Passport Canada were destroying foreign passports, then logging that they had returned them to the foreign embassies. He endured 8 years of harassment and abuse, hand sanitizer in his coffee,
point of order,
threats
Chair.
to his children's safety.
Point of order, Chair.
Just 1 second, Mr. John's got a point of order from Mr. Genuous.
Yeah, Chair, I had hoped that my motion would be able to just proceed
Well-
quickly to a vote, but on
Well, it's
just
not.
on-
What's your point of order, please?
On the matter of order, I mean, there are parameters around relevance, and I know that the NDP Liberal coalition, if they wanted this whistleblower reform, they could have put it into their coalition deal.
That's quite
But it's
unfair,
not
Chair.
it's not the motion
Yeah, no,
in
but,
front of
sorry,
us. The motion
sorry.
is very specific to certain
Mr.
matters.
Jennings,
Thank
this
you.
is a period of debate, and I do allow members latitude to express themselves.
It's all going to be tied to it. I promise, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
no,
So-
John,
and-
I'm giving you allowance here.
you.
I hope you will illuminate us as to what side of this motion you're on.
Yeah,
I
well, I
appreciate your overview, but if you could also address the motion as well.
if I
Thank
could
you.
Go back to Mr. Sovereign, because he endured 8 years of harassment and abuse, and he deserves to have some time here on the floor today. Hand sanitizer in his coffee, threats to his children's safety before losing his career in 2016 and almost losing his life. You know, whistleblower reports save lives. 1996, Michelle Brill Edwards also lost her career after she reported that Big Pharma was influencing the drug approval process in Canada, endangering Canadian lives. Now, we put forward amendments. Our amendment to allow whistleblowers to go to the public or media in specific situations where, for example, the commissioner isn't dealing with the complaint or decides not to do anything to stop the wrongdoing, both the Liberals and the Conservatives both oppose this. So now whistleblowers are at huge risk if they expose wrongdoing to the Canadian public because of the Conservatives. I'm going to underline that. Interim relief would have protected whistleblowers from punishments like termination as soon as they reported wrongdoing. Instead, we're allowing punishments to happen, then spending years investigating whether they were indeed punished. This is exactly what's going on. Reverse onus. Right now, the whistleblower has to prove reprisal. Example, if they were fired, they have to prove it because they were reported wrongdoing, which is virtually impossible. This amendment would have forced their superiors to prove there was a real reason to fire them. That's the amendment that Conservatives defeated. In other jurisdictions, this brings the chances of success from as low as 1 in 100 to as high as 1 in 3. But the Liberals and Conservatives teamed up to vote against it. They didn't support it. These amendments were contrary to the advice of all experts and whistleblowers who testified and submitted briefs to the Government Operations Committee. And this is relevant right now, Mr. Chair, to what's going on right here. Because some of our amendments were not voted on because both the Liberals and Conservatives spoke against them. Now, we got amendments passed to improve whistleblowers' access to the tribunal. We did a lot of really important work. But I wanted to highlight this because this is exactly relevant to what Mr. Jenius is trying to say about Mr. Utano, Mr. McDonald. If they were really in their corner, they would have supported those amendments on Bill C-290. He also knows full well that back to the Auditor General's report, we're waiting for that report. Then this committee could do its final report and include his concerns in that. This is absolutely, this meeting was unnecessary. It's the charade, it's costing taxpayers money, which doesn't seem to be a problem when it comes to Conservatives at public accounts or at government operations, international trade, at ethics, where they're doing 4 different committees tying them up on this very issue while people are on the streets of our country homeless. I can understand 4 committees tying up committee because of homeless people. That's costing us much more than the economic leakage of ArriveCan.
So I'm going to, yes, sorry, Ms. Johns, you are now repeating for the 3rd time something that you have previously said under 2 points of orders. It's not really relevant to the motion.
Fine. I'm done with my time then.
Thank you very
my
much. Appreciate that, Mr. Johns. Ms. Khalid, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I want to thank Mr. Hayes for taking the time to be here today. And I also noted that your opening remarks were word for word exactly the same that you had on October 12th, I think minus the last sentence. So I think, Chair, we all knew that Mr. Hayes does not have much to contribute by way of answering questions in this committee. And I think that we knew that. And now that I see that we've received this table-dropped motion, I understand why, perhaps, we are here today. And I find that to be a little bit disingenuous, Chair. I remember the last meeting that we had in the last year. We had suspended the meeting. All members from all parties had gotten together and worked on a motion on this very topic. We had laid it out. We built consensus because that is what our committee should be doing. And for us to be here, knowing full well, Chair, that we have a witness who is not able to speak on a report that is not going to become, it's not going to be tabled until February 12th, having spent a whole meeting working out a plan on this, and now to go back to another emergency meeting, just like we did on October 12th, again, where we heard from Ms. Hogan, who said, as you know, since this report has not been tabled yet in Parliament, I am not in a position to discuss our findings. And she repeated that consistently throughout the meeting. So my question here, Chair, I would ask is, if we wanted to discuss this motion that is being presented by Mr. Genuis, then why are we wasting Mr. Hayes' time in being here? We could have just called a meeting for this. Better yet, we could have called a meeting at the regular time of our meetings as they come, as they arise, which is literally 3-4 days from
Point
now.
of order, Chair.
So I am speaking
Just sorry,
to the
Ms.
motion,
Khalid,
Chair.
Mr. McCauley, what's your point of order?
Well, I think we are discussing Mr. Genevis's motion, not Mr. Hayes' attendance at this meeting.
Again, I'm going to, I'll let Ms. Khalid continue, and then we'll hear from other members.
Thanks, Chair. And I just want to highlight some of the points that Mr. Johns had made as well with respect to Mr. Genuis's motion. One that it seems to be a little bit disingenuous to present it in various committees, knowing that, you know, just being a visiting member of a committee and table
I'm just going to
dropping a
stop
motion.
you. So every time you say something's disingenuous, you are imputing the chair. That is fine. It is, you're not crossing the line. My job is to oversee the government. This is an opposition-run committee. I will call a meeting when I think it is worthwhile. You don't like it, you can take actions. But to suggest that I'm being disingenuous by calling a meeting is out of bounds. Mr. Genuis, like all members, are entitled to bring forward any motion they like the day of the meeting that is relevant. He has done so. If you're implying we're in cahoots, you are wrong. I called this meeting on the information that I was received from Mr. McCauley on thousands of pages of documents. Referring back, you were right. The Auditor General said the exact same thing about that October 12th meeting. And guess what? Not only did this committee find out something that we did not previously know, that the OAG had been, withheld information to the OAG by the department about a police investigation. That was relevant. Number two, the OAG actually delayed the release of their report so they could go back and review documents. So this committee is doing its job by overseeing the government. It will continue to do so. So if you're going to keep calling my actions disingenuous for doing my job, I'm going to find you out of line. Back to you, Ms. Khalid. You're welcome to address the motion or my behavior, but do so directly without impugning my motives. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for your clarification, but I will respectfully say that it is not your job to hold the government to account. It is this committee's job. And the point that I was trying to make earlier is that we have been able to build consensus. We worked together on a motion, figured out the language. We have been finding ways, at least on our side, to build that consensus and to do the job of this committee. So what I'm trying to say here is, Chair, that neither was this meeting an emergency, nor is this motion an emergency, which we have seen in showing up in other committees, as Mr. Johns has pointed out. And what I am trying to say is that none of the members on our side, at least, were consulted on this at all, even though we have shown good faith time and time and time again to find ways to work together to do the job of this committee. No one member is a representative of this committee, Chair, and I respectfully submit that to you. So I would hope that going forward, we would continue to act in good faith of the consensus that we're trying to build here, of holding the governments to account, and to ensure that we're not wasting public servants' times as they're trying to do their job, that we're not trying to interfere in the work of the OAG, etc. I will leave it there, Chair, but I hope that we can continue to find better ways to work together rather than having meetings that are completely unscheduled and unconsulted with all members of this committee. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shanahan, you have the floor.
Beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Chair. I would just like to say that we are here apparently to make a bit of publicity for a meeting that's going to happen eventually in this committee with the Auditor General. I believe that this is a waste of time. I believe it is also a waste of this committee's resources. Everybody knows this. Everybody would know that all members of parties, except for the Conservatives, had caucus meetings this week. There was no consultation whatsoever with anyone, apart from somebody else, and this is a waste of time.
Second, Ms. Shanahan. Yes, Mr. Johns, you have the floor.
I just want to, I think this will help Ms. Shanahan too. It's just a point of clarification that Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano, and this is directly related to this motion, were not whistleblowers. They didn't report any misconduct. They didn't raise any alarms.
Mr. John, that's Mr. John. You're on. I'll get back to you. This is not. I appreciate Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns. I appreciate this. This is not a point of order. And you are down on the list again. I have on the speaking list Ms. Shanahan, Mr. Brock, Madame Sinclair-Desgagne, Mr. Genuis, and then after that, Mr. Johns. You will have a chance to rebut this. Thank you, Ms. Shanahan. You have the floor again.
Justement, parce que je veux.
Thank you. I just, for the record, would like to say the following. I'm saying this also for my constituents. They expect the work that we do at public accounts to be good. They have so much respect for us and our work because we are a consensus-based committee. We've always been. Doesn't matter who the chair was, whether it's a Conservative chair. I'm thinking here about Mr. Sorensen. I know there are other chairs. But at the end of the day, it was always a consensus-based. Now, however, we're seeing a more adversarial procedure underway. It's almost as if we're in a court of law. It's a waste of time. Everybody knows what the issue is. People think that we don't necessarily want to talk about this very important issue. That is false. This is an issue of crucial importance, and we will always work together to tackle such issues. We like working together with the committee and with the Auditor General.
Yes, Mr. McCauley, point of order,
Again,
please.
Unless we voted on this and I missed it somehow, we are debating the motion. It'd be nice if someone actually got to actually debating the motion at hand.
No, well, fair enough. As you know, I allow for latitude, and members are expressing themselves. There's some irritation for having a meeting outside of the parliamentary calendar, and members are entitled to have that, to feel that way. I don't. So we're at work here, and I'll turn back to Ms. Shanahan. I think you were concluding, but maybe not. I'm certainly not pulling the mic, but back to you. But again, I'm just going to remind everyone, we have a nice speaking list. Mr. Genuis, you're on the speaking list.
Sure, I have a point of order as well.
What is your point of order? And then we'll go back to Ms. Shanahan.
Chair, just to speed things up, I wonder if there would be, given what's being said, if there would be unanimous consent of the committee to proceed to a vote on this motion. We'd be ready to do that if there's unanimous consent.
Yeah.
What's a request for unanimous consent? Is there agreement?
No. Well, I can tell there's not agreement. So, Ms. Shanahan, back to you, please.
You can request you see on points of order, but it
But
seems,
Ms. Shanahan has the floor. Ms. Shanahan, you have the floor, please.
Merci beaucoup, parce que justement.
Thank you very much. I'm about to wrap up, indeed. I just wanted to make sure that everyone listening in at home understands that our committee is working on the ArriveCAN issue. We are working with the AG. This meeting is a sideshow. Everybody knows what's going on and what the Conservative Party is trying to do. I know that other people want to speak, and I look forward to listening to my Bloc Québécois colleague as well.
Before that, avant ça, c'est Mr.
Before that, we have Mr. Brock.
Bloc member. So, Mr. Brock, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we go back to the actual motion that was introduced probably 45 minutes ago. The committee report to the House its grave concern about apparent reprisals against witnesses following their testimony on the ArriveCAN app. That is the motion. And what we have heard from the Liberals and the NDP is anything but the importance and urgency of this particular matter. The House needs to have this matter before it so that all members, all parliamentarians, have a chance to speak to this. You know, Ms. Shanahan uses comments about urgency and how important this is, and we want to telegraph to Canadians that we're taking this serious. We take our job serious. But she forgets exactly what happened on October the 12th, when the Auditor General appeared, and after they were embarrassed, the entire Liberal bench embarrassed, as well as the NDP, that the Auditor General, you know, Mr. Shanahan, you can laugh all you want, but Canadians are watching me, and they're watching you laughing at me, and it's not a good look. You and your party and the NDP deliberately shut down the ability of the Auditor General to answer questions for a 2-hour period.
Yes, Ms.
I
Shanahan.
am being spoken to directly, so I would like to
Very good.
respond to that.
That is
there is no shutting down going on. We were proceeding with this work on Bonne du Fort.
Thank you.
And Mr. Brock, that he doesn't like the timing of it, I'm sorry. I can't help him there.
That is a very good reminder that point should be referred through the chair.
Through the chair.
So, yes, I appreciate your understanding, Mr. Brock. Back to you.
And she can remind Canadians of what she did, but the fact of the matter remains that after they were embarrassed, that the government did not inform, nor the CBSA inform the Auditor General, who was starting an investigation now that the RCMP were involved, was an absolute embarrassment. The Auditor General confirmed she only read about it, knew about it, after reading the article in the Globe and Mail. I was the one that asked that question, Mr. Chair, and the moment I concluded my round, this was the first round of questioning to the Auditor General, the first member of the Liberal bench who had the floor moved to adjourn, which I believe was Ms. Khalid, who moved to adjourn, and they had the votes to adjourn the meeting, thereby wasting the ability of the Auditor General to shed light on the full parameter of this ArriveCAN audit. And now, over the course of several months, which is the genesis behind the wording in motion number 2, we have direct evidence that 2 senior members of the CBSA, Mr. McDonald, a former Director General of the CBSA, and Mr. Antonio Utano, another former executive, senior executive of the CBSA, testified not under oath, but knowing that they were there to tell the truth, pointed fingers and identified the president, Ms. O'Gorman, and the past president, Mr. Osowski, as well as Mr. Christian Firth and other members of the IT companies that were associated with the not only the ArriveCAN issue, but also the issue involving another IT company, Bottler AI, had deliberately misled the Government Operations Committee. They informed the committee that they had evidence to produce to the committee to confirm their findings, that it wasn't just a he said, she said, or a he said, depending on the witnesses involved and the players involved. They actually had witnesses who could come to committee to, again, support the findings of both Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano, that our committee, that this government, national government committee, was deliberately misled by the CBSA. That is something that the Auditor General should be concerned about. Now, whether that's enough for them to alter their report, that's an issue for another day. That could be an issue following the release of the report to Parliament. But it's incumbent upon members of this committee to inform the Auditor General what has transpired. They testified on November the 7th of 2023. In exchange for that testimony, they both received letters from their new respective employers, Mr. Utano at Canada Revenue Agency, Mr. McDonald at Health Canada, that they were now suspended due to allegations of misconduct. Now, allegations of misconduct that Mr. Hayes would certainly be aware of were brought to the attention of the CBSA in November of 2022. And Ms. O'Gorman testified a number of times, Mr. Chair, at committee, that she took that very seriously, so much so that she did an internal review, found that there was a prima facie case, and referred the matter to the RCMP for a full investigation in November of 2022. But interestingly enough, which goes to the heart of this motion, it would appear that the findings in support of the suspension without pay for McDonald and Utano were only made after they testified truthfully and pointed fingers about CBSA officials lying to committee. That is a reprisal. And what sort of message are we as members allowing the federal public service, the professional federal public service, that we often hear that phrase from the Prime Minister and his cabinet and members of the Liberal bench, that they take pride and respect the professional federal public service. But these shenanigans that are happening right now with the professional federal public service is disgusting, and it ought not to happen. And we owe it to Canadians, we owe it to the Auditor General, we owe it to all parliamentarians to shed as much light on this as possible. Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano are both on medical leave, supported by documentation from their respective doctors as to what personal health toll they coming forward has had on them. The accusations, the death threats from the Canadian public that they have received is concerning. They also have the specter of being investigated or under investigation by the RCMP. Both testified very emotionally and raw about the real impact and effects that this is having. So what about those witnesses? What about those witnesses that they said will come to committee and support and corroborate what kind of shenanigans the CBSA has been involved in at the taxpayer's expense? What kind of message does that send to the other professional federal public servants? Will they want to come forward? Can they expect a suspension letter as a result of coming forward? These are serious concerns, and Mr. John should be all over these serious concerns and want to vote in favor of this motion because it strikes at heart of his argument. And let's talk about how unusual this is. We had the former clerk of the Privy Council, Michael Warnick, chime in. He said as follows, that the public finger-pointing by senior public servants is highly unusual, and given his tenure as a professional federal public servant, he says, I cannot recall any other instance of such public disagreement. It is an outlier. Suspensions without pay are also rare. It is a very strong measure to suspend without pay while a process is underway and no conclusions have been reached. Usually, disciplinary measures follow an investigation being completed, and suspension with pay is more common in the early stages. And lastly, because this has never been communicated to this committee, it also sends a very strong measure, it is also a very strong measure to suspend or permanently revoke a security clearance. And that's exactly what has happened to both Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano. Mr. Warnock says this is tantamount to removing someone from that job and any other job that requires that level of clearance. It is not a common occurrence. So if my Liberal colleagues want to remember the words of the Prime Minister in 2015 about doing government different, about sunny ways, that Canadians can expect the most open, transparent, and accountable government this country has ever seen, they will vote in favor of this motion, as will I. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brock. Bonjour, Madame Saint-Claude-Gagné. Vous avez la parole maintenant.
Good afternoon, Chair. Hello, all colleagues, and have a great year to everyone I haven't seen yet. First of all, I'll try to be as quick as possible here. Many of us were taken out of our various very important meetings in order to come to this meeting. I'd like to remind all my colleagues of one thing. Protecting whistleblowers is something that the Bloc Québécois cares a lot about. It's my colleague for Mirabel who has now put forward a private member's bill on protecting whistleblowers. That said, I'd like to get back to Mr. Genuis's motion. If there are documents, evidence, information that show that there were reprehensible behavior from the government side, I would ask these governments to be sent to the OAG. I would like to thank Mr. Hayes for being here today. However, he needs all the documents in hand to be able to write the report. Then, or to help with the report rather, then we need to continue with our study of ArriveCAN. The current motion being discussed is premature. I think that we need the expert opinion of the AG and then hear what she has to say and then continue with our work. We will be there to continue this work. I will be there in order to move this file forward in order to protect whistleblowers. However, at this stage, with the documents we have, with the information we have, and especially at 2 weeks' notice before the OAG's report on this very issue, I really think that this whole thing is premature. That is, to report anything to the House at this stage. Let us work hard, diligently, and together. I would invite my colleagues to do so. This is an important committee. We will hold the government accountable for its actions. If there was anything reprehensible that happened, we will highlight it, and we will potentially be able to bring it to the House. This motion could be debated once more if necessary, but at this stage, I do believe it is premature. Therefore, I would ask my colleagues to call a vote. And I think that out of respect for Mr. Hayes, we should be voting on Mr. Genuis's motion and then proceed. If someone after that has questions for Mr. Hayes, they can ask them. So let's be reasonable here and do the right thing and do this. Thank you, Ms. Saint-Claude-Gagné.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. I didn't expect this to take the time that it has, and there's been a lot of time spent by people talking about things that aren't actually the motion, people talking about other ideas for protecting whistleblowers, and I think there's a time and place for that discussion. We're dealing with a specific instance here of two senior public servants who came before our committee, gave very frank testimony, and almost immediately after that, they faced severe professional consequences. I think this is a relatively clear and certainly a pressing matter. So at this point, I'd like to seek the agreement of the committee to proceed to a vote on this.
Well, I still have Mr. Johns and Ms. Khalid on the speaking list. I suspect they both wish to speak. Yes.
Well, just put the question to the committee. Is there agreement to proceed to a vote, or?
See, yeah,
Unless
I'm seeing no. So,
from where are you saying no?
well, I hear no, Mr. Genuis.
Point of order, I'm saying yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, let's proceed to the vote, please.
Well,
Great.
all right.
So
Well-
it appears there's unanimous consent.
Would members like to vote?
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Okay. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll call on Mr. Genuis's motion, which I will just read while you're preparing to take the vote. The committee report to the House its grave concern about apparent reprisals against witnesses following their testimony on the Arrive Can app. Over to you, Madam Clerk.
Shall the motion of Mr. Genuis carry?
Yes.
Ms. Bradford?
No.
Do you want to record the vote?
No, yes, we want to record a vote. We want to record a vote.
Mr. Chen?
No.
Ms. Khalid?
No.
Ms. Shanahan?
No.
Ms. Yip?
No.
Mr. McCauley?
Yes.
Mr. Genuis?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Madame Sinclair de Gagny?
No.
Mr. Johns?
No. Again.
You only get one vote. And it is defeated. Turning right back now to the witness. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Hayes. Ms. Khalid, the floor is yours for any questioning you have of Mr. Hayes.
Just say that
Thank you, Chair. I will take this time to agree with the bloc, Ms. Natalie Saint-Gagné, in that this is a very premature meeting, as I have said time and again. At this time, I don't think that Mr. Hayes is in a position to answer any of the questions, as the report hasn't been tabled, will not be tabled until February 12th. I look forward to to us continuing this study as we have agreed to in our committee. It is obviously very important to all members, and I think that if we can get the timing of it right, it would be very beneficial for us to have the OAG here before us to answer whatever questions we may have, the committee, all members of this committee may have to ask. So with that, Chair, I will move to adjourn this meeting.
Very good. Dilatory motion. I will ask the clerk for a recorded vote on that, please.
Shall the motion to adjourn debate carry? Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Sorry, not debate, sorry, the meeting. Sorry. Ms. Bradford?
Yes.
Mr. Chen? Yes. Ms. Khalid? Yes. Ms. Shanahan? Yes. Ms. Yip?
Yes.
Mr. McCauley?
No.
Mr. Genuis?
No.
Mr. Brock?
No. Conservatives believe in accountability.
Thank you. I agree. I agree.
Madame Sinclair Desgagnés.
Oui.
Mr. Johns.
Yes, and be glad.
And same to you, Mr. Johns. This meeting is adjourned. I will see you all back here on Tuesday, January 30th.